Bitcoin's future gap, guys. This is something I wish I never veered off of. Back when we were talking about this in October, November, when we created a futures gap with Bitcoin around $78,000, has actually finally been filled here. But it's following along suit the SPX, and a very bullish indicator did just flash, which kind of gives me some clarity and at least a little bit of positivity that the bottom of Bitcoin is either a close, if not already taken place here. So if you're looking at this chart right now, back in October, November, we covered the $77,000, $78,000, $79,000 level where Bitcoin wanted to fill this gap. Historically, we fill these futures gaps like 80 to 90% of the time. Now, of course, after it just continued to break out, went to $110,000, I thought the likelihood of us coming back to this range would more or less not happen. But, well, this just goes to show that when everything is green, when everybody's greedy, you should 100% be fearful, because not only did Bitcoin come down to this gap, you also had the SPX fill a major imbalance as well on their futures market here, as you can see on the screen. And the bullish indicators that are flashing, guys, okay, are going to be that Bitcoin has officially created another futures gap all the way towards $92,000 to $93,000. On top of this, the SPX also does have a gap itself. Now, I'm in Colorado right now. I'll be back earlier next week, so you guys will see me on the show Monday. I've been hitting the slopes, just getting some air, touching some grass, and just enjoying the absolute beautiful weather here out in Steamboat, Colorado. But there has been a few breakthroughs as well in terms of the tariff. So we saw Mexico. I'll actually pull up the tweet here, but this is what I believe we're going to see happen with a lot of the tariff negotiations. You're going to see countries come out and say, hey, you know what? We understand that you're going to give us reciprocal tariffs, and so we are going to buy more goods from you and end up tariffing other nations, giving more demand to the U.S. market and bringing more domestic development. So this is something I don't expect to at all settle over the next 2 to 3 weeks. It would make sense that this takes a few months, right? We can't hear into the negotiation conversations that Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent and the ones embedding these tariffs on these different countries are having with their government officials. And then on top of that, once a tariff actually is embedded into the market, sometimes it takes months before that actually affects your overall supply chain. So fiscal policy, monetary policy, as these all shift, this is where I have said now we are currently sitting in purgatory. All right. Unfortunately, economists from both left and right field have no common ground. They have no idea how strong these tariffs are going to be, how poorly they're going to actually impact these markets. For every economist that says tariffs are bad and going to cause inflation, you have economists saying that it is good and going to prevent inflation. And I know that sounds insane, but if we were actually to pull off, and I really recommend you guys go watch the new Elon Musk interview with the Joe Rogan. It's like 3 hours long, but they talk about everything Doge is doing, all these tariffs, and of course, a plethora of other things here. And if they are actually able to pull off tariffs, like, you can't deny this, right? It may bug you, and that's completely okay. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. You may be a Democrat, you may be a Republican, but we are all in Bitcoin together. And you have to play both sides here. So while there is a world where they fail, this just causes inflation, it crashes our markets, I completely understand. There is also a world here where tariffs and Doge actually reduce the deficit. We actually see a surplus in our economy over the next 2 to 3 years, and we could potentially see a sovereign wealth fund that is adding Bitcoin, of course, to its wealth fund. So that could be huge. You had Arizona announce that they're, of course, enabling a strategic Bitcoin reserve. At least it passed the Senate here. And it's only a matter of time. It's not a matter of when, it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when these big states, which have GDPs larger than most of your countries across the world, start allocating Bitcoin to its balance sheets. So am I personally waiting for a 72K Bitcoin? No. You guys would have seen on my Twitter when we hit 84,500 just 2 days ago, it bounced back up to 86K. I picked up a little bit more Bitcoin. At these levels, if you get a massive wick down to 77K, maybe you want to pick up some of your blue chips. However, your altcoins, guys, are high risk. They're going to be absolutely brutally destroyed if you keep getting these 10% swings on Bitcoin's price here. But the futures gap here, guys, going back to the reason we started creating this video in the first place, these future gaps work. And it's hard. I mean, seriously, I was somebody that was like, guys, 77K, we're going to come back to this range for weeks. And some of you might be like, leave in the comments, yeah, I remember, Josh, when you said this, and I thought you were absolutely crazy. And I ended up changing my perspective because we just kept going and going and going. I was like, there's no way we dropped $40,000 from the all-time high on Bitcoin, $30,000 from the all-time high. It just happened. So the next time you guys see a futures gap, start respecting these ranges, guys. Start respecting these key levels. 80 to 90% of the time, these futures gaps, especially when they're at these major levels, end up being filled later on at some point in the market. So whether we go to 73K Bitcoin, whether we go to 64K Bitcoin, like some people are starting to predict at these, at these levels, I do know that we're seeing a lot of positive signs of rotation in these markets here. And of course, you'll see that when we discuss the GDP and other things in upcoming videos here, guys. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. I have a Ray Dalio video coming out, the man behind the Changing World Order, one of the greatest books you could possibly ever read. I really recommend, if you're somebody that is struggling just with, over analyzing these markets and have no idea where to start, Changing the World Order by Ray Dalio is a phenomenal book to understand the rise and fall of empires, the rise and fall of currencies. And of course, his other book, Principles, was one of the first books that really motivated me as an entrepreneur. There is a principle in there for every single person. My favorite is going to be 5.5, and you can guys go check out that book and see exactly what that is for yourself. But I have made literally dozens and dozens of videos on these chapters and on these books. And the video I'm dropping about Ray Dalio this weekend, he sat down with Tucker Carlson and goes over what he believes is going to happen over the next 5 years. And let's just say you better be holding Bitcoin and gold. See you guys soon.